Finding resistance. Example, we have 3 lamps which are connected in series. So 3 lamps are there which are connected in series. L1, L2, and L3 are the lamps. Now place a voltmeter and ammeter. You will use the screen annotation for this. Number one, measure resistance of L2. So where I should connect a voltmeter and ammeter to measure the resistance of L2. And the symbol should be for ammeter write A and for voltmeter write V. That's right. So I should connect a voltmeter in parallel to the lamp 2 and I should connect ammeter in series to lamp 2. Before and after it will not make any difference. And same thing if I want to measure the total resistance of the circuit. Yeah, that's right. So we connect a voltmeter in parallel and ammeter in series to the battery. So we'll get the total resistance of this. Next to the battery in series, it should be ammeter, and parallel to the battery, it should be voltmeter. So you will find this type of a question in paper 6, placing a voltmeter and ammeter to measure the resistance of the component. Then material can be conductor. All the metals are conductor. The material can be semiconductor, also known as half conductor, and a material can be insulator. If a material is a conductor, allow maximum charges to flow through it. If a material is a semiconductor, it will allow few charges to flow through it. And if material is insulator, does not allow any charge to flow through it. So basically why these materials, like why we have a conductor, semiconductor, insulator, is because of their internal structures. What is the structure of the conductor? Conductors are metals. So internally, what metals consist of? Metal consists of a lattice of a positive ion. So there's a regular arrangement of the positive ion. And delocalized electrons. This is a lattice, the regular arrangement of the positive ion, and they have delocalized electron, like this shade is representing electrons, so electrons can move. So what happens if electron enter from one place? There is a passage through which electrons are flowing, so they can flow out from other side. But what happens in a semiconductors? In a semiconductor, they have molecular structure. Most of them are molecule. And out of 1 million, like if there are 1 million atoms, out of 1 million, there is only one positive ion is there. And most of them are molecule. So what happened? If this electron enter, it does not find space to go. So it find it difficult to go out due to the structure. So it allow, but not too many charges it allow to flow. Very few charges, like maybe 100 electrons enter, but out of 100, only one or two find a space to go out. Here what happen if 100 electron enter, maximum number will go out. Like example, maybe 99, maybe 98 of them will go out from other side. But what happen in insulator? In insulator, there is no space available for the electrons to move. The molecule does not provide any space, like wood, glass. These all are insulators because they are not allowing any particle to go through the structure. So they don't have any charge, they have molecules. So because of this molecule, these neutral particles are there. So if any electron try to enter, this electron even does not find space to go through it. That's why it will completely stop. So a material in terms of structure can be a conductor. All metals are conductor. It can be a semiconductor. The term semi means half, but actually it's not half, even it is less than half. If there are 100 electrons, few of them, like one or two electrons, find a passage or a part to flow out, rest are stopped by the molecules. An insulator which does not have any charged particle within the structure, like overall neutral atoms and molecules are there, that is why the electron does not find any space to go out. Is it clear? The material, conductor, semiconductor, and insulator. So examples of conductor: all metals are conductors. Example of insulator like silicon, germanium, and example of insulators such as wood, glass, plastic. These are insulators. In a semiconductor, they have mostly molecules and very few ions are there. So this positive ion, what happened when the electron enter the structure, these electron experience the attraction from this positive ion, but they are not able to move freely through the structure. That's why the amount of the particle which are moving through the structure is less or small. So conductor have positive charges, so they are attracting the unlike electrons. So electron find a space or a passage to move through. But in semiconductor, few positive ions are there within the structure. That is why some of the electrons find a way to go out, rest are being stopped by the molecule. An insulator does not have free charges or ions, so it is completely stopped or blocked the movement of electrons within the structure. Then what is the effect of temperature on resistance of conductor and semiconductor? So the structure of a conductor consists of a lattice of the positive ion and the delocalized electrons. These positive ions already lost their electrons, so these are the electrons which are moving, the delocalized electrons moving within the structure. Now what we are doing, we are supplying a heat energy. When I supply the heat energy, this heat energy will cause? This heat energy will cause the vibration, like the ions, the lattice vibration increase. When we heat a conductor, the positive ions vibrate faster. So as these positive ions are vibrating faster, they're moving, vibrating in all the planes. Say the electrons were entering, say 3 electrons were entering. What do you think? These electrons find it easy to move or difficult to move when the lattice, the positive ions are vibrating faster? What will happen, or what do you think? It's your own understanding. What do you think when we are heating a metal or a conductor, the lattice vibration increases, the positive ions are vibrating faster? So the correct answer is they find it difficult to move. Why they find it difficult to move the electrons? Because what happened in the beginning, what was happening, like example, if I say this was a positive ion, so this positive ion was vibrating but not vibrating too fast, so electron can move easily around it and flow. But now what is happening, because it is vibrating in different planes, so it is occupying or continuously moving or vibrating. So this electron find, like electron try to move from this side, then it try to move from other side. So because the positive ions are continuously vibrating, so these positive ions does not give them too much space to flow through it. Because it's like, if you take example of, you want to cross a hurdle. So this is a hurdle in front of you and you want to cross this hurdle. So if this hurdle, if I move this hurdle to and fro, what you find difficult to go or easy to go across the hurdle? It's simply like a maze, that when the positive ions are vibrating, the electron does not find, because there is a disturbance within the path, so electrons find it difficult to move. As these electrons find it difficult to move, So few electrons are able to pass, and most of them are being stopped by these positive ions. So if I increase the temperature, 3 electrons are there and only 2 electrons are able to flow out. What happened to resistance? Increase or decrease? What happened to the resistance of, so resistance increases. So what we can say for conductor, the temperature and resistance are directly proportional to each other. So resistance increases for conductors. So conductor resistance and temperature are directly proportional to each other. Is it clear? But for semiconductors, what happened? For semiconductors, as I mentioned, they don't have too many free electrons, positive ions, sorry. Most of them are molecules. Now, applying the heat energy, what it causes, when we supply the heat energy, so two things will happen. The vibration increase, that is one thing. But the second thing, what will happen? The atoms will lose their electrons. So example, if 2 electrons are trying to enter, we are supplying heat energy to a semiconductor. So when we supply heat energy to semiconductor, their lattice vibration, the vibration of the molecule increase. That same thing happened in the conductor. But there's another thing what happened, that these atoms start to lose their electron. So when this one will lose electron, this will be a positive. This will also lose electron, positive, lose electron, positive, lose electron, positive. So 2 electrons are trying to enter. They are not able to pass, but the electron which are released from the structure, they are able to pass. So what happened to resistance here? 2 electrons are trying to enter, but 4 electrons are going out. What happened to the resistance? So resistance decreases because more electrons are able to go out, and when few electrons are entering, like example, only 2 electrons are entering, but 4 electrons are going out. And why 4 electrons? From where we get extra electrons? Because when we supply the heat energy, the atoms within the structure are losing their electron and forming a positive ion and electron, and these electrons travel and increase the conduction, so which reduce the resistance. So we can say for semiconductors, temperature and resistance are inversely proportional. Is it clear? What happened? This is not exam point of view. They will not ask. This is not related to exam. This is an extra thing which I explain because it is related to another topic. So in exam, they will not ask why the temperature, increase in temperature, increase the resistance of a conductor, or increase in temperature, reduce the resistance of semiconductor. That's not according to exam. But because it is related to another topic, so I have to explain this part as well. Is it clear? The idea that why a resistance of a conductor increases with temperature and resistance of a semiconductor decrease with temperature. So when we plot a graph between voltage and resistance, or voltage and current first. So if we plot a graph between voltage and current, it depends on which axis we are taking. If voltage is on y-axis and current is on x-axis, in that case, the slope of the graph represents the resistance. But if it was the other way around, slope or the gradient, if it was the other way around, that current is on y-axis and voltage is on x-axis, then slope is reciprocal of resistance, 1 over r. Because the meaning of a slope means the quantity on y-axis divided by quantity on x-axis. So on y-axis we have voltage, on x-axis we have current. So voltage divided by current, that gives resistance. But here when we find the slope is a quantity on y-axis divided by x-axis. So on y-axis we have current and x-axis we have voltage. That's why 1 over I over V is equals to 1 over R. So if I plot a graph for conductor, or instead of first conductor, just a simple idea. First, I'm taking voltage on y-axis and current on x-axis. What is the resistance of this material if it's a straight line? What about slope of this line? What is the slope of this line? So slope is constant. So if slope is constant, it means the resistance is constant. Yes, the resistance is equal to the gradient or the slope. So that's why if gradient is not changing, the slope is not, resistance is not, resistance is not changing, so as the gradient. Then if we have current on y-axis and voltage on x-axis, and again it is a straight line. So if it's a straight line, it means the slope is not changing. If slope is not changing, it means 1 over r is also not changing, because slope is equals to 1 over r. If slope is constant, it means r is constant. So this graph also, voltage and current or current and voltage, it shows that the resistance is constant. But what will happen if you have a graph and it is slope is, what happened to slope here? Increasing or decreasing? So the slope is decreasing. If a slope is decreasing, it means the resistance is decreasing. If we take current and voltage and represent, what happened to slope here? For this graph, slope is equals to resistance, and for this graph the slope is reciprocal of resistance. So what happened here? The slope is increasing. So if the slope is increasing, what happened to resistance? So resistance is decreasing. Which one having the first graph, slope and resistance having a same meaning, but for the second graph, when current is on y-axis and voltage on x-axis, the slope and yeah, that's right. If 1 over r is increasing, it means the r is decreasing. So basically, you have to identify the slope and which quantity is on y-axis and x-axis. So according to that, you can work out the graph. So here the slope is decreasing, so resistance decrease. Slope increase, but resistance decrease because the axis, I changed the axis. Is it clear, this idea, the graph? Then resistance of the wire, if you want to find the resistance of a metal wire, so first thing we should understand what factor it depends on. Number one, the length. Example, you have two metal wires of same areas but different length. Which one you think will have high resistance? Like two charges are trying to flow, here also two charges are trying to flow. Which one you think will have high resistance? So B is having a high resistance because what happened? The charges have to pass through greater length. So more charges are opposing them. Here charges have to pass through shorter length. So resistance of the B will be higher as compared to A. So we can say resistance is directly proportional to length. Longer wires have more resistance than shorter wires. And the second factor on which it depends, it is known as area. Example, you have two wires of same length but different areas, and the two charges are try to flow through these sections. Which material, which wire, which A or B is having a greater resistance, thinner wire or thicker wire? Which one you think will have high resistance, A or B? Okay, you can take a simple example. Say you have a passages available. These are the two passages available for you. One is a narrow passage and another one is a wider passage. In which one you will find it easy to move? A wider passage you will find easy to move. So same thing happened for the charges. Same thing happened for the charges. Charges, when they have a wider passage, greater width, so they find it easy to move because there is a repulsion between the charges as well, as these are electrons or like charges, so they try to repel each other. When they are closer to each other, they have more repulsion between them. When they are away from each other, they have less repulsion. So that is why a thinner wire will have a high resistance as compared to a thicker wire. Is it clear? Because in a thinner wire, the charges have a narrow passage, whereas thicker wires, the charges have a wider passage, so they can flow easily. So if I want to increase the resistance of a wire, I should use a long wire and I should use a thin wire. That is why, like for electrical heaters, so we can say resistance is inversely proportional to area. That is why for electrical heaters, they want a high resistance so it produces more heat energy. So electrical wires or electrical heaters, they use high resistance wire to produce more energy. And how they can increase the resistance, as they know, resistance is directly proportional to length. So longer wires have more resistance than shorter wire, and resistance is inversely proportional to area. So thinner wires have high resistance than thicker wires. So what they try to do, they make a loop, a coil. What is the advantage of having a coil rather than a straight wire? Because in a small space I will have a greater length of a wire. That's why they use a coil. So when they use a coil in the space, they're using a longer wire, so resistance will increase. And the wire, you will find that wire which this metal is made up of, it is very thin. What is the reason why it is very thin? So it will increase the resistance. So if I say you have two wires available to produce heat energy as a heater, which wire is suitable, A or B? So A is suitable. Why A is suitable? Because A is longer and A is thinner. So both cases it produce more high resistance. When it make it high resistance, it will produce greater amount of heat energy. Then the formula which relate the resistance and area with length. So the formula which relate resistance, length and area, that is R equals to rho L divided by A. What is R here? R is known as resistance. What is L here? L is the length of the wire. What is A here? A is the area. And what is rho here? It's a Greek alphabet, which means resistivity. What is the meaning of the resistivity? Resistivity means it is a resistance of section of wire having length 1 meter and area 1 meter square. So example, this is a wire, the full metal wire, and I say this was having a resistance of 100 ohms. This wire is having a resistance of 100 ohm. But what is the meaning of resistivity? Resistivity means a section of the wire which is having a length of 1 meter and area 1 meter square. Like this area cross-sectional area is 1 meter square, and this length is equals to 1 meter. So what we call resistance of this part, what we call that as resistivity. Is it clear the concept? What is resistivity? Resistance is for total wire, but resistivity, it's somewhat similar to that of density. So every material is having a constant resistivity, because when I have a sections within the wire having a length of 1 meter and area 1 meter square. So every section of length 1 meter and area 1 meter square will have the same resistance, and what we call that, we call that as resistivity. So resistivity of a material is constant. Resistance depend on the length and the area, but resistivity is always constant because it is a resistance of wire having a length of 1 meter and area 1 meter square. Is it clear, the concept of resistivity? Any doubt in this part? Look, you have a wire. If I say the total, like this wire was having a length of 5 meter, okay, this is length 5 meter, and it is having area of 2 meters square. So the resistance of this whole is known as, denoted by R. But if I say what is the resistivity, what is the meaning of resistivity? It means resistance of a part of the wire which is having a length of 1 meter and area 1 meter square. So a part of the wire with the length out of 5 meter, the length 1 meter and its area 1 meter square. So this part, resistance of this part, what we call that as resistivity. But for total, we call that as resistance. So if two wires are made up of same material, they will have same resistivity. Like example, I have two copper wires. The two copper wires have different length and different areas. But when I calculate the resistivity, resistance of wire of length 1 meter and area 1 meter square. So when I calculate the resistivity, they both have different resistance. This resistance example R1, this will be R2. This is having a areas are also different. This area is A1, area is A2. This length is L1, this length is L2. But what is same for both? Their resistivity will be same. Resistance of wire of length 1 meter and area 1 meter square. So the formula which relate the two wires made up of same material is R1 A1 over L1 equals to R2 A2 over L2. So this is the formula when you are comparing the length, area or resistance of the two wires made up of same material. R1 A1 over L1 equal to R2 A2 over L2. I will give an example. That how we can use this.